Today we are going to regulate the bridal wires, an often left out or ignored part of vertical regulation. So my process is that on this piano, I've picked 3 sample keys, and when I pick 3 sample keys to do a complete regulation, I want to do 2 naturals that have a sharp in between. So I did these 3 as a sample, and I did these 3, and I want them to be towards the end of a section. So when I say I've completely regulated them, let's see if you take a picture of the board over there. This is what I've done. I set blow distance, and anytime you do blow distance, you have to adjust the capstans because the capstan and the blow distance are integrally related. After that, I set the key height. Another name would be key level. And again, at this point, I just did the key level of the ones that I wanted to do as a sample, and I did the key level of the 2 naturals and the sharp. Then on these sample keys, I did the let off. Then the parts that go together is that I set the key travel, and I wanted the key travel to have enough key travel so it carried it through let off and then had aftertouch. So I did key travel, back check, checked aftertouch. So I've now done that on these samples. So know that that is done. Then I have another video showing my regulating of the back checks. And so what I do is I have these are key leads that I put a knife cut in. And the reason that this is kind of handy is I can adjust the length of this. I can slide this thread through the key leads. But you could do it with a fishing bobble. They just wouldn't slide as well. Then I have it wrapped with tape, so I'm not really touching lead much. But I drape this thread over the back checks, right between the felt and the wood. And my 3 samples are completely in a line. Then I've taken the rest of the back checks and moved them in and out so that they are in a straight line. So I've done that. Now I'm going to move on to the adjustment of these bridal wires. So the first thing, soft petal is in. I make sure that the soft petal is adjusted correctly so that there's just the tiniest bit of play here. So you can see a little tiny bit of wiggle before it lifts the rail. A little play lifts the rail. Then what we don't want the bridal wires so tight that they lift the back check, which then takes the weight off the key. So like on this one, you also have key wiggling, and you don't want that. So what I'm going to do is on these end keys, I'm going to adjust the back check into the position I want. So I want the wire to be quite tight, but not so tight that it can move the back check. So I'm going to say this actually is a little taut, so I'm going to move it in just a little bit so that I can see just the tiniest amount of slack in that wire. So I'm going to say I like where this bridal wire is. I'll do the same thing on the other end. Say it's just the tiniest bit of slack, and when I move the soft petal, nothing wings. So I've got samples set on the ends. Now what I'm going to do is remove the action. And anytime I take the action in and out, I just as soon have this soft petal out of the way. Taking the action bracket bolts off. Moving the action to a bench. Getting my thread, and now we can see that the back checks that I had in such a nice straight line are not in a straight line, and it's because at this point they're being held into their position by the bridal wire. So once again, I'm going to put my thread onto the back checks that I've done the sample on. And now what I do is I'm going to move the bridal wire in or out to line up the back check. So this one, the bridal wire was so far forward that it allowed the back check to fall back. So I'm going to pull the wire back until it's in alignment. This one, it's so far out, push it forward. Anyhow, very quickly you can get your bridal wires into perfect alignment. So that is my method for adjusting exactly the position of the bridal wires. I hope you found this technique useful.